Hey, back, it's me, and in today's video, I'm looking at this film. What an important, exciting film it is. It is Things to Come from 1936. This is just a sci-fi classic, a British sci-fi classic, which is groundbreaking and an important film. Okay, let's get into it. It's 108 minutes long. It's this is the best cut we've got at the moment, because parts of it were cut and are now missing. So this is the best cut we've got, and it is great. Anyhow, what we've got, but it's a shame we haven't got some of the missing stuff. Rotten Tomatoes, 91%. There is a general feeling the critics and everybody else has recognised how good this film is, how important it is as well in the history of film. Now, the screenplay was by H.G. Wells. Yes, the H.G. Wells was involved in the screenplay. Now, it's based on one of his books, which was The Shape of Things to Come from 1933, and also other influences within that, but that was the core influence on him in this film. It's produced by Alexander Korda, who was an Hungarian film director, producer. He set up his own production company, London Film Productions, which this was part of. He directed The Private Life of Henry VIII from 1933, which is an important film, early talking film, starring Charles Laughton. Charles Laughton, a massive actor of this period. Fantastic film. Scarlet Pimpernel, also 1934. He also was the producer of Richard III from 1955, which was written, directed by Laurence Olivier, and is considered one of the great Shakespeare film performances, because they obviously had a great stage tradition, Olivier, but also was involved in films. He was a producer of that. It's directed by William Cameron Menzies. He goes right back to the silent film era, but he's more important to some extent as the production designer. He was involved in 1920 version, probably the first, of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Also, epics like Cleopatra, 1934, Gone with the Wind, 1939, and for me, a very interesting film, which was For Whom the Bell Tolls, from 1943, Hemingway book about the Spanish Civil War. Spanish Civil War started in 1936 and was like showing the drift towards Europe, moving towards the Second World War. It's a very important moment in history, 1936. A lot happens, and we'll get back to some of that maybe. The film stars Raymond Massey. What a performance. He plays two characters, John Cabal, Oswald Cabal. In terms of acting, Raymond Massey, Scarlet Pimpernel, 1934. Very importantly, he was in The East of Eden, 1955, which was one of the three James Dean films. James Dean was in that. Also in Rod Serling's Night Gallery, appeared in 2 episodes, which I love, of course. That was after the Twilight Zone series. That was from 1971, 1972. Then we've got Edward Chapman playing Pippa Passworthy. He, of course, has an important link. He was in, for me, when I say these links, X the Unknown, 1956, which was a Hammer film. He was in A Stitch in Time, 1963, and The Early Bird, 1965. Norman Wisdom Vehicle Films. And he played Mr. Grimsdale. Yes. Oh, we've got that. And he was also, very interestingly, in The Man Who Haunted Himself from 1970, which was starred Roger Moore, was a psychological thriller. Then we've got Ralph Richardson playing Rudolph the Boss, crucial role as well in the film. He was part of the triumvirate Gielgud, Olivier, Richardson, all theatrical greats and who did films. Richardson's really known. Dr. Zhivago, he was in that 1965. He was in Greystoke, Legend of Tarzan, 1984. Then we got Margarita Scott playing Roxanne Black and Rowena Cabal. She became famous in TV terms much later in her career. In Old Creatures Great or Small, which was from 1978 to 1990 TV series. Then we've got Cedric Hardwicke playing Theophilus. Hunchback of Notre Dame, 1939 he was in. Invisible Man Returns, 1940. Universal Classics, The Ghost of Frankenstein, 1942. And Ten Commandments, 1956. Those are just some films I put out. Anne Todd, she was also playing Mary Gordon. Anne Todd, what an actress. Massive career with personal interest. She was in Hammer's Test of Fear, 1961. And most recently, which I reviewed fairly recently, she was in Beware My Brethren from 1972, also known as The Fiend. What a film that is. Wow. So, what is the film about? The film starts in Christmas 1940 and war begins, basically. Europe is on the brink. We never know who the enemy is. Of course, look how they predicted this. 1940. This is brilliant out of H.G. Wells. He wouldn't have known in 1936. The outbreak of the war was 1939, but really, the war really got going in 1940 because there was the phony war period, as they call it. And then we get into 1940. And it's basically the war just carries on. It's a perpetual war. Such themes had been looked at in many ways with Orwell in 1984 novel. But this is from H.G. Wells looking at what would happen. We get to it's reminiscent how he does the time thing in The Time Machine, 1960 Time Machine film. Yeah, watch that. We've got 1966 here, where this plague takes over, creates zombie-like people who have to be shot. Wow, he's doing the zombie thing already, 1936. Then we get into the 70s, and the war is really taking its toll. Barbarism is just ripe. All these surviving communities, we've really gone backwards. And what has happened is that scientists and rational people who want an end to war intelligence, have formed, as this has been going on, Wings Over the World, which is rebuilding civilization. And we see how they come to make themselves known and basically end the war, end all war, move forward as we see progress. And then we get the science fiction element where you see all these this dome city environment, all the progress, and then they're going into space. Mankind is actually, again, H.G. Wells, what visionary, is looking at space, yes, and it all ends where they send this, what you could describe as a rocket up there to the moon, and but of course, the problem at the end is that you get these what we call utopian civilizations, and things go wrong in terms of people are not satisfied. They want to revert back. We get almost like a Luddite approach. People think freedoms and all that kind of thing. So there's a kind of revolt to all this, but they don't stop it. They don't stop. I know that seems like a spoiler, but I think it's important to say because you get a feeling at the end, as Wells was being optimistic because it could so easily, as often did happen in the post Second World War period, there was optimism, but there was also, with the dropping of the atomic bomb, that feeling that mankind was really at the brink of destroying itself. So that is not an optimistic approach, but Wells, despite always shows optimism and hope for mankind. And it's beautifully done. He's well ahead in the designs, which of course is fantastic. The way the director, say William Cameron Menzies, puts the what you see on the screen, the models, the designs, the clothes. There's so much to talk about when you look at it. It looks at the special effects that you see, how they put all this together. It blows you away, it does. Thinking of the time period that this was in, it's amazing. And so you're getting H.G. Wells philosophizing, as science fiction does, about the future. And he does it so well. Why did I know about this film more before? I'm so glad I did discover it. I recommend it highly. It is a great science fiction film. It is the science fiction film. Okay, people are going to say, what about 2001 Space Odyssey? Apparently Kubrick didn't like this film, but he wouldn't, would he? It's funny, I like Kubrick, but 2001 is overblown, far too long, doesn't quite hit the mark for me at all. It doesn't really at all. This one does. It's shorter. It's well compact, beautifully done. The film, you can't argue with it. Great film. Totally recommend it. Now, it came out on DVD, a restoration in 2007, and then we get a Blu-ray in 2011 on network. Yes, network. Here it is. Look at this. Fantastic. And of course, with network going under, I thought, well, I've got to get this. And I did. Got 2 discs. We got the Blu-ray, we got the DVD. We've got here a brilliant booklet full of lots of information. Fantastic. Well worth a read. Oh, what a miss network are, really. So sad that they've gone under. So there we are. I can't recommend this film enough. If you've not seen it, if you love science fiction, but if you just love film, it's an important historical film. And it's British. Yes, it's British. It's a British film. Yes. So that's it. I think I've gone on too long. I could talk about it. There's so much you could talk about with this film. But anyhow, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It's free, cost note. As also, if you like it, give it a like. Helps with algorithms, as they say. And if you got any comments, please put your comments down. I love to read your comments. Fantastic. I really do. You know, I'm so fantastic. All the people that really watch my videos, fantastic. You really are. I'm just blown away by you, really. Thank you. And all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.